Beautiful! That's how you want to start a stream, when you know that everybody can see you perfectly fine, when you didn't realize it. I actually had a work call where that exact same thing happened today. That's twice in one day. I think it sounds like I'm probably a little bit loud, so let me tune myself down nice and quick. Or, if this sounds good, I can just talk like this the whole show. If it sounds a little bit nicer, a little bit sweeter, I have no idea how it sounds. But I am using more of a quiet voice. However, at least what I see in my preview here shows that I am quite loud and sort of reaching those peaks. So this is more of an ASMR vibe, then we could go for that. But just give me a second as I lower myself down, and then I can talk. Saw me turn on the lights. Nice. So you got a nice view of me bending over. That's what everybody wants to see during the beginning of the Push Start podcast. Welcome everybody to, I don't know what episode this is. I don't keep track anymore. But yeah, I realized as I started getting set up that I had nothing ready to go. So that's wonderful. So you guys were just staring at a blank screen. You know what? Let's do this properly for a second. There you go. See? Starting soon. Starting soon. And it was a nice, beautiful full cam view, wasn't it? Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Push Start podcast. That was the real intro right there. I had that happen during the day today, during my work day, where my laptop had died out in the middle of a client call. There were other people in the call. I had finished my section that I needed to speak to, and then conveniently, when I turned my computer back on, the meeting was still going. And of course, programs like Zoom just picks up where you left off. It doesn't leave. I was still signed into Zoom when I turned my computer back on. So I was just standing there like this and sitting there. The client was on the call and I had my phone out like this because I had obviously walked away. And it was just a really, really great look. So twice in one day. Why not? Why not? Why not? Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this week's episode of the Push Start podcast. Hello, Solark, and hello, Arcane. Arcane, some advice for content creators. Arcane was asking for help, some advice from content creators. If you're having, and this I think applies to just anything when you're stuck creatively. I struggle with it too. There's reasons why my content goes like, and I set out with the goal of making the podcast, this show, every single week, the most consistent thing. And I basically just turn around like Thursdays, 6:30, I'm doing it. If I like, there's no reason I shouldn't be. I'm sitting down, I'm doing this podcast. I've been doing it for months and months and months with Red Wolf Renegade. There was no reason that I couldn't do it on my own channel. So I sat down and I did it. And even still, even still, not that I don't love hanging out with you guys, but as you can imagine, there are days where I get home from work and I'm just like, gotta go talk and sit in front of the computer. But then, of course, once you get started, you realize you're having a good time and you enjoy doing it. So if there's anybody who's working on anything creative or any projects or any goals that you've had for the year that you haven't yet started, just keep that in mind. Just sit down. In Shia LaBeouf's own words, do it! Right? Honestly, ironically, that's one of the most motivating things I've seen in a very long time. So, listen to the wise words of Shia LaBeouf. Just do it. Just do it. Just do it. And hey, listen, if it comes out terrible, at least you did it. How's everyone doing tonight? Thank you, Cole, for stopping by. How's everyone doing? It's been a very cool week for games, I think. A very cool week because there's been some beautiful stories, as we'll talk a little bit about. We'll talk a little bit about the Randy Pitchford stuff and the Borderlands 4 stuff going on. Some of the drama, because he did offer a response. So I know that almost all of you frequent the Renegade Realm podcast. We talked about it there. I gave my thoughts alongside the rest of the panel. But there's been a small update where he did offer a statement and an apology. So we'll be diving into that. Got a lot of bite-sized stories. Nothing I want to spend too much time on, but just things that I thought were pretty interesting. And then, of course, later on in the show, you can go ahead and see that we're going to be giving some impressions on Tainted Grail, because I tried Tainted Grail. I had watched ESO's, just a little bit of a tidbit here. I had watched ESO's gameplay video. Not hearing any of the game. What? We can turn that sucker up. There you go. Should be a little bit louder now. A little bit louder now. It's supposed to be in the background. It's supposed to be subtle. But I had watched ESO's coverage of Tainted Grail, and I was watching the gameplay, and I went, Like, it looked cool. It looked like it, when you watch it, it looks like an indie Elder Scrolls type thing, right? And you go, all right, like, I guess it's kind of cool-ish, right? It's all right. And then what you realize when you actually play is the gameplay is actually a lot of fun. The combat is actually not the easiest thing in the world. They have struck a good balance between like the damage that you do and the damage that enemies do. They just found a balance that Bethesda always seems to be in, this weird middle ground where one difficulty is a little bit too easy and the next difficulty is a little too hard. I don't know, they just figured it out. And maybe it's because you have things like the dodging, right? And we'll talk about more about Tainted Grail, but it's good. Good, really great first impressions of that, and I'm excited to talk more about it. So we'll dive into that more. Some bite-sized stories for all of you, though. Some bite-sized stories. Tell me if you've heard this one. Stop me if you've heard... Thank you, Lotus Esprit, welcome! Thank you. Welcome to the show. That is a golden way for Lotus for you to enter. Just don't even say hi, just immediately. Thank you for joining as one of DeMarco's dudes. Enjoy your access to those emotes. Beautiful. And also thank you to Red Wolf Renegade and Holly as well for being channel members. And Fark you is a channel member also. And now Lotus. Welcome. Thank you. As always, Lotus, you are always appreciated, and I'm really glad to hear. I was glad to hear from you. For those of you who don't check it out, Holly, that blue number, you can find her. Let me just get her channel actually and share it here. I can do this really quick. Holly does some really fun streams to watch. She's recently been doing a combination of Doom on Sundays. I'm sorry, Elder Scrolls on Sundays, Elder Scrolls Remastered. And she's also been doing some Doom Eternal, and it really is a good time. So I hang out there as much as I can. If you want to hang out with myself and with Holly, go ahead and do there. But Lotus, I was really glad to hear, anyway, moral of the story, while you were in that chat also hanging out, that the move seems to be going well, which is great news. I'm happy to hear that. So I hope it continues that way. Again, I genuinely, like, I have no idea how, I don't know how you manage all that. It's insane to me, but there you go. Anyway, so some bite-sized stories that I want to go through. I don't want to spend too much time here, but stop me if you've heard this. PlayStation Stars. Did anybody know? I feel like most folks here are typically like they lean towards Xbox, but PlayStation Stars. Does anybody even know this? Because I had no idea that this program actually existed. But basically, it was a rewards program, and I almost feel like Sony intentionally didn't talk about this much, because they didn't want people to know about it. They're like, it was a rewards program that seemingly operates very similarly to Microsoft Rewards, right? Not as robust. PlayStation Stars, not All Stars, just PlayStation Stars program. It worked very similar to Microsoft Rewards, but not as robust. It was a lot more limited. But if you bought a game, then you would get some points for it, and you get some points, or you'd even get like cash back basically, and then you could use that to buy more stuff through the PlayStation Store. Very simple, rudimentary, but appreciated system nonetheless, right? And everybody likes, when you see you get 5% back or 10% back, who's gonna look at that and go, I don't want that, right? So it was cool that PlayStation had it. I had no bloody idea this thing existed. And one of the reasons that they cited that they aren't continuing it is because it had low engagement. Go figure. They never talked about this thing. They never tried to rival the Microsoft reward system. I hope to make it by Sunday. I love it. So Lotus, you know the program. It's a great program. Well, unfortunately, it is shutting down because folks like myself, I have a PlayStation. I buy, not a lot, but I buy games on PlayStation. You know, sometimes I like to sit on a console and be able to experience it. Hey, Red Wolf. Yeah, we're going to be talking about Tainted Grail. Really great. We'll be diving into that. But listen, I am the first person, my little grubby Italian fingers, if you tell me rewards programs, I'm going to go yoink. I'm pulling that sucker out. I love that stuff. Give it to me all day, and I had no idea this was a thing. Most people, I assume, also did not. You got digital collectibles and points for purchases and activities, but they had low engagement. If you are a member, then basically what's going to happen is you will have a set expiration date, and the points will be honored until then. And then they're going to sort of change their focus and they can't be redeemed anymore after that. So they will be expiring. They're supposedly going to look at a way to revamp their reward system, which is good because honestly, I think Microsoft just has it down pat. It's not complicated to look at. I see that chat's picking up as well. Thank you guys. Grail Taint. There's plenty of that in that game. Maybe. I don't know. I haven't got that far. But I'm glad to see that chat is picking up. Welcome, everybody. Solark, Red Wolf, Arcane, Lotus. I hope that you make it as well. I hope that you make it to level 3 as well. Because, listen, and redeem whatever you can. Whatever you can get. But it's a shame. I hope that they do bring it back. And they, potentially they're going to offer some like in-game cosmetics and stuff. I don't think that's the right move. Really, they just need to double down on sort of the cashback system. The cosmetics is a bonus, but just make sure that players feel rewarded for spending time. If someone's playing a PlayStation exclusive game, why shouldn't they feel rewarded for playing that PlayStation exclusive game, right? Just, Microsoft Rewards, they laid the foundation for you. All you need to do is snatch it up. And they could even take a little bit of advantage of that if they also promote it. I'm just saying, if Sony wanted to get a little bit sneaky, they could say, hey, you bought this Xbox game on PlayStation? Double points for you. So a lot of folks are constantly criticizing. I think it's a bit silly, but a lot of folks are constantly criticizing, saying, oh, well, Microsoft is going everywhere, so I'm just not going to buy an Xbox anymore. I'm just going to go buy a PlayStation, right? If I want a console, I'll just buy a PlayStation because all the Xbox games are going to be available there anyway. To which I would say, hey, PlayStation, try to capitalize, incentivize on those folks who are like, maybe I do get a PlayStation next generation. Just lasso, drag them in, revamp your reward system, double points for people who are buying and playing Xbox games on PlayStation. Not a bad deal. I get rewarded. You guys get more players. It's a win-win, right? And I want to see players get more rewards and benefits. I like that stuff. I like when the gamers, I mean, in these big, massive industries, we don't come first. The shareholders do. Let's make sure that we keep that in mind. But hey, listen, I'm willing to sit down and accept that if they at least try to make me feel like I'm important. I like that. I like that. We all like feeling important. Speaking of important, let's go through a couple chats. Oh, look, Red even made it. Yeah, if Red did make it this time. I'm happy to see Red here. You like the topics. Hi, Holly, as well. Thank you so much for stopping by. Level 3 is valid until 2020. See, so sorry, Lotus, you have the details on this. Level 3 is valid till 2027. I hope 4 will last till 2028. That's a very interesting way to handle it. I've never known this program existed, so I'm not 100% sure if your level 3 is the assumption that you just have more points, so it might take longer to use them. Is that sort of the way that the assumption works and why they would extend that? Because it's interesting that they're not just saying, hey, the cutoff date to use your plan is this. Or do you get some exclusive benefits for being 3, like increased reward points when you buy a game and stuff like that? Because then it would make some sense, right? Red Wolf, thank you for the $5 super chat. Bite-sized thing, GSC has removed certain Russian things from enhanced editions of Stalker, and they are upset, calling it censorship. I think that I don't want to get too much into the censorship discussion, because honestly, there's smarter people than I that can talk about it more respectfully and more intellectually. What I will say is, generally speaking, I'm not a fan of most forms of censorship. I think that in regards to Russia and the fact that GSC is in Ukraine, it makes sense. And because of their relationship with the situation as a whole, they should be allowed to handle that as they please. And if people want to criticize it, then GSC should say, okay, just you buy a plane ticket, you come over here, and then you check out what we've been experiencing, and we'll give you the tour of what's been happening. So I don't want to get too into the nitty-gritty with that, because there's a lot of layers to that whole situation. But again, I think given their personal relationship with the conflict, it let them handle it how they see as appropriate. Especially because a lot of them, we saw the footage, right? When Microsoft sort of showed footage. I forget at what event it was. I think it was at Summer Games Fest, when they showed the development progress of the studio. And they showed the conditions that those folks were working in, where they were just like on the ground and still developing the game, like in a ruined building somewhere. So listen, just leave it at that. Redfall for life, 1,100 hours. I still think that's insane. I'm not judging you, Lotus. I'm not judging you. I wasn't a fan, but I'm glad that there are people who enjoy that game out there. That's very exciting. And be sure to... I'm glad you guys are using those emotes. They're really cute. I really like the little dudes. I really like the little dudes a lot. I think they're so cute and so fun. They're so expressive. That's what they're very light. And I think they do a good job of kind of highlighting the energy I try to bring, because I'm still basically a little kid when it comes to a lot of stuff. Stalker Remastered is the exception that proves the rule. Feel free to clarify that a bit more. Like, what do you think is the rule, Solark, as regards to censorship? Okay. You were one step ahead of me. I feel like the remastered is the exception that proves the rule. Yeah, again, it's personal to them, right? No, I don't think anybody can really sit back and say, hey, I don't think any of us are really allowed to kind of pass judgment on them changing those elements, because as far as I know, look, like, certain Russian things is very vague, for starters. Like, if it's just some minor thing in a corner somewhere that's like, well, you have to do this quest and you need to interact with this NPC and then do that. I'm assuming it's a bit more prevalent than that, but you understand what I mean. Like, if it's something so subliminal, ultimately it's not something that's going to impact your gameplay, and most people who are going to be claiming censorship, I can almost guarantee you, are so far removed from the situation where it has never once impacted them in any way, in any capacity, so they're not qualified to speak on the matter, in my honest opinion. So that's what I'll say about that. But interesting. I think it's a very important conversation to have, though, Red. So thank you for bringing it up. I do believe that people... There's a line, right? There's certain... The last thing I'll say on it, the actual last thing I'll say on it, is there's definitely a time and a place where certain forms of censorship go a little bit too far. This I don't think, is one of those times, personally. They've been through literal hell. I can't imagine the trauma. Exactly. Yeah, I think you exactly, Red. Alright, so other things too. This is something really neat. Xbox retro games. So Xbox Game Pass has added over 50 retro games. This is what I always say is sort of the value of modern hardware. Now it's really interesting that it's through Xbox Game Pass. It's a benefit for subscribers, but you have classic games, and it's an important milestone for game preservation. I don't know because I haven't looked at these titles personally, but I did want to bring this up because I'm fully in support of this decision. For Xbox to bring back these retro games. You can download them, you can play them. There's over 50 of them from classic Atari, Sega Genesis, and arcade machines available for all subscribers, which is really, really neat. And some games even have had patches that allow them to be played at 60 frames per second, which is really neat. And again, for the sake of game preservation, I love it. I hope that these games can be bought. Of course, there's still that fine line between ownership versus licensing a game, and technically we don't own them even when we buy them. But this is good, and I'm surprised. I will say that one of the big things I could say to this is that I'm surprised it's taken longer for Xbox to get the Call of Duty library on Xbox Game Pass than it has to be able to get Sega Genesis games and arcade games. Wow. But it is what it is, I guess. It's just a value-added proposition, right? So if you are someone who's looking for more value, when you subscribe to Game Pass, you are absolutely getting it here. I think I've been pretty clear on my takes on Game Pass, which is to say that I think it's a phenomenal value. I am nervous about how long it retains that value, as in the sense that we've seen it happen with subscription services, right? We've seen it where, media and game subscription services, things like Hulu, Disney Plus, right, where they keep raising the price and kind of stripping away features, right? Oh, you want to play your games in 4K? Oh, well, that's actually only available on the more expensive plan. Oh, you want the 60 FPS update? Oh, sorry, that's only available on the more expensive plan. Oh gosh, oh man, you wanted to have the whole library? Xbox already did this, where they trimmed out new releases on some of their Xbox Game Pass plans. So what are they going to continue to raise that price and sort of increase the gap between the plan that gets all the features you want, that you actually want, right? Primarily the day one games and stuff like that. Or are they going to just sort of, raise all of them concurrently? Game Pass won't survive. I don't know if it's a matter of it won't survive. I think Game Pass is going to be around for a very long time. Again, people had the same concerns about how long have we said that cable's going to die, right? Cable and TV, radio. I think radio is one of the best examples. They're still sticking around, yeah, given probably their revenue has dropped off quite significantly as far as advertising revenue, but there's still a market for that type of stuff. There's still a market for all these streaming services and cable, and the same thing will apply to Game Pass. So it's going to last. I don't agree when people say Game Pass will fail. I think that is very short-sighted, in my honest opinion, because ultimately Microsoft will make sure that it survives in some capacity. And the reality of the current gaming climate right now is that it is more appealing than ever when games are going for $80. And we've just gotten proven wrong recently with, for example, Doom Eternal. That was available on Xbox Game Pass day one. It was available on the Activision Blizzard subscription services, which I'm surprised is still around. It was available pretty widely as far as how you can stream the game. And then, of course, everyone looked at the Steam numbers going, oh, 30,000 players, this game is flopping. However, we recently just found out that they hit 3 million players and they've grown 7 times faster than any of their past Doom titles, which congratulations, by the way, to Hugo and the rest of the team. You guys did a fantastic job with that game. I've been watching Holly stream it, shared her channel earlier. But definitely go check out her streams because they're a lot of fun to be a part in. It looks phenomenal. And so congratulations to their team. But again, we've seen, I don't think that Xbox Game Pass is necessarily going to die. Will it become increasingly, what's to say, sort of, will gamers start to look at it and go, do I really need to subscribe for Game Pass this month? Probably. At a certain point, I think it will get to that. And I think at a certain point, gamers will start to criticize, hey, you're increasing the price and cutting out these features. you know, oh, well, there's actually an ad plan now where you get advertisements all, you know, when you're going through the library, there's a bunch of ads, and then in game, they're showing ads if you subscribe to a certain plan and you're paying it through Game Pass, right? All of these kind of dirty, injectable things that they can do, I want to be proven wrong, but I fully expect they'll do it at some point. History has shown us that that's how these companies operate because they need to continue to grow. There's no other option. So what can you do? You increase the amount of advertising and sponsorships that you take in, right? Option number 1. Option number 2, you raise the price. Option number 3, you lower what people get. So you lower what people get, and then you increase, you know, you don't necessarily need to increase the price, but you create different plans to try to get people to subscribe to a higher tier without necessarily raising the prices up, right? So you start cutting back features. We've seen it time and time again. So we'll see how it plays out, but for the time being, Game Pass is a great deal. Xbox bringing retro games. That's what we were talking about. Xbox bringing retro games. Fantastic. Love it. Good job, Xbox, for you doing so. Now, please, can we get Call of Duty, Call of Duty World at War back? That would be fun. I want to play through that game again with 60 FPS and all the modern benefits that you could 4K upscaling and all that cool stuff. And also what I really want to do is I want to go back and play Black Ops Transit Zombies. Black Ops 2 Zombies was phenomenal. It was my favorite in the series. In all the series. I really want to go back and play maps like Transit. I want to do Origins. I loved Origins. I played so much of that. And I really liked Kino der Toten. Kino was fantastic. So I want to see all those return. Get those games in Game Pass. Also, speaking of Activision games, just recently, I think it was today actually, it was announced that the deal is finally done. Like, it's finally fully passed. There's no more litigation and law and like kind of debates. The FTC has dropped the case between the Activision Blizzard and the Microsoft acquiring Activision Blizzard. That's done. Deal solid. So we might start to see Microsoft getting a little bit more aggressive with how they handle Activision titles going forward. Something that's super interesting to see how they're going to pivot. Because, of course, I would argue, I'm not a legal expert, but I would argue it would have behooved Microsoft to make sure that the deal was finalized and they didn't have any legal issues to sort of slow it down and say, hey, listen, Call of Duty is available everywhere, baby. You can play it on whatever system you want. I don't know why Microsoft talks and Xbox talks like that all of a sudden, but you get my point. And now that it's all said and done, they could start saying, all right, now bring it in. Activision, you got this. Look at these. I hope that they maintain parity between all the consoles with their Activision games like Call of Duty. Something like Call of Duty, I imagine they will do. We'll see how that happens with other Activision titles, though, if they start to kind of sneak in a little extra bonuses if you're playing on Xbox or through the Xbox ecosystem, because, of course, Microsoft is definitely devaluing the console as we keep moving forward. Other bite-sized stories. Battlefront 2, we're going to be talking about that later on in just a bit. Could have fit in this as well. Let's go through some chats here. I'm excited to see. Do you know if the servers are still up for Redfall? I don't know. I only play in offline mode. Yeah, I couldn't tell you there. Are we going to play co-op Power Wash Simulator? Chat, vote! I could put up a poll. Add. Oh, I've also heard that there is a way to... Yes! I can do this! Alright, let's go! Alright, listen, for those of you who stick around until the end of Tainted Grail Impressions, I can gift out 5 channel memberships to some lucky people. I didn't know that I could do that. I saw that recently. So, if you stay till after that topic, we'll gift out some channel memberships. That'll be fun. Doing the Dark Ages is my favorite, says Roadkill. That's the cool thing about Doom the Dark Ages, is that you are able to have some variation between... I even said that, like, this is one of the biggest pieces of praise that I've given about Doom the Dark Ages, is that they each do feel very different from one another. So Holly, thank you. Thank you so much. You sort of know some stuff that's going on in the background, so you know why that's really appreciated. Sony, yes! Thank you! I almost forgot. I wanted to mention that. I didn't fit it in. Oh! There's 2 major bite-sized stories. It's because I wrote stuff down at work, and then I saw right before I started the show, I saw a bunch of things that popped up. Thank you. This is super important. 2 things in particular. Holly, we'll get into that. In just a bit. But not Borderlands 4. BioShock, they both start with B. They're both from 2K also, which is interesting. BioShock 4, Borderlands 4. Do a Grand Theft Auto 4 remaster. Just really sealing the trilogy of 4s. BioShock 4, not too much to go on when it comes to BioShock 4. Now, we have heard some things in the past. Let me just make sure that my details are a bit accurate here, but there have been some things that came a while back. We're talking like 2020. Was it this year? Was it 2024? I feel like it was about a year ago. There was a leaked screenshot. There was a leaked screenshot of BioShock 4. It was coming from somebody who apparently worked at 2K. I'm obviously not going to show it here for reasons. And there wasn't really much in it. It showed the HUD. It was still really early. It's probably going to change completely. We've seen, given Ken Levine was there at the time, but we've seen how much BioShock games can change. I mean, if you look at... It's actually really fascinating. Go and look at BioShock Infinite before and after. I think IGN might even have a pretty well-made video, or somebody out there has a video where they compare the 2 before and after, and it's insane. Also, episode is sponsored by you guys, the channel members, That Blue Number, Lotus, Fark, and Red Wolf, and of course, as always, Plain White Mug. Thank you for keeping me energized and ready to go. So, BioShock 4, getting a Borderlands 4 before Bio the worst. It wouldn't be the worst if Randy knew how to shut his mouth, but we're gonna dive into that in a little bit. So, the screenshot came from like a 2021 thing. It showed a shotgun, and what we do know, some of the details was that it's actually taking place in sort of an Arctic area. It was in the 1960s Antarctic city called Borealis, and it's codenamed Parkside. That to me sounds incredibly cool. I remember hearing these rumors start to come back up. This was by Jason Schreier back in 2019, and then later Colin Moriarty in 2021 sort of corroborated these details. So that was super cool to see. Could have changed since then. I mean, that was, again, 2019, 2020, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 6 years. There you go, get your tease. I should get I should get one of the little emojis made, like the channel member emojis made that have something tea related. I'll take listen, if Absinthe and Tea wants to sponsor the channel, I'll promote the living crap out of that. Absinthe and Tea is amazing. They are so good. They have so many good flavors. I just keep buying more, and I have too much tea already. But it's okay. So those are all the details. It could have changed since then. The new leaks tell a couple things. One is that they're getting ready to reveal soon. Where would soon be? I don't know. Any major gaming events coming up? There you go. Summer Games Fest. So if we're going to see it this year, it will be at Summer Games Fest. And honestly, I think that's a really great place for them to reveal this type of thing. It's been long enough. I think it's going to be ready. And what I will say is I think that they can have 2K in particular, can have a very strong presence between Grand Theft Auto 6, between Borderlands and BioShock, all making an appearance at Summer Games Fest. You got a pretty stellar 2K lineup, and I guarantee you that those investors are going to be very happy. I don't know if it's a publicly traded company or not, but if it is, I want to get on board before Grand Theft Auto comes out, specifically Grand Theft Auto. Just saying, if it is publicly traded. Just saying. I have a hunch. Something in my brain. Anyway, I don't want politics in my BioShock game. Yeah, That's of course going to happen. If we actually get BioShock 4 news this year, I think Summer Games Fest is very, very likely. They said it's coming soon, and that it's pretty far in development, and that it's going to feature Rapture. Now, I will say, minor spoilers for, it's not even really spoilers for BioShock Infinite, but I will say, as far as how they handled the connection, I'm loving all the chat, by the way. Thank you, everybody who's chatting and signing messages. I'm glad that you guys are enjoying these topics. And also, just want to say really quickly, if anybody's stopping by and checking out the stream, and I'm getting lucky and I'm catching you right now, want to say thank you for the support on the latest video that went live. It did really, really well. I was very happy with how that did. And lots of new faces on the channel from that. So thank you guys for showing support and love on that video. That one took quite a while. There's a lot of research that went into that, just going back and forth, and I tried to make it pretty comprehensive coverage of a lot of past developers, not just the one interview. So, and the person who originally hosted the interview actually commented on that video, which was really cool. So if you happen to be here, I know you said you subscribed. If you happen to be stopping by, then thank you for that. That was really lovely to see your comment, and I really like your content too. You're doing a great job. Anyway, BioShock, yeah, seems likely to me. I liked the way that they handled in reference to the past BioShock games. I really appreciated that and really liked that, because it provided subtle reference to, and obviously it connected them together, but it left it distant enough, right? You felt like you were kind of playing your own game. And I think especially because the big deal with this new BioShock is the departure of Ken Levine. So what I will say is I kind of want them to not use Rapture as a crutch. I would like this to stand on its own two legs without necessarily the need for nostalgia. But based on some of these leaks, it does sound like they're going to put in a little bit of a closer tie to Rapture, which might not be surprising. I know that there was some discussion about a TV show or a BioShock movie at some point, I think, maybe, and I believe it was supposed to be related to Rapture. So honestly, that could be some good cross-pollination there. Not sure, but I'm excited nonetheless. And now, Holly, Santa Monica's been working on a sci-fi game per Grub. Tell me your perfect sci-fi game from the God of War devs. Oh boy. Linear. I don't want to say linear. I think that God of War Ragnarok handled the world perfectly, if I'm being honest. What I would not want to see from Santa Monica is them suddenly try to expand it into, I'm not going to even go as far to say like a Starfield style thing, but I would want them to keep it a little bit more grounded, a little bit more like Mass Effect 2 style. Mass Effect 2 in the sense that they have the action, definitely very heavily story driven and character driven, not necessarily going into the RPG choice and consequence elements. I would want them to have, I want Santa Monica to maintain a defined character role. Obviously you play as Shepard, right? And you do have a voice actor behind Shepard, but you could kind of customize a little bit. I would want to see this game say, no, we're taking the things about God of War and we are sticking that into a sci-fi setting, but just with change up the way that exploration works, in the sense that you can kind of freely move between all these different planets. And then of course, one thing that I thought God of War always did really well was their environments. I think that when you travel between the realms in God of War, each one in their own way has something memorable about them. And that was one of its greatest strengths. And I think they honestly achieved that because they stuck to a more linear pathway. So I guess the comparison I maybe could make is like, what I would worry for them to try to do is think Star Wars Jedi Survivor, like Kobo, where it's pretty open and you can go into all these areas. But they say, all right, we're going to do like 4 Kobos, right? Basically saying, or the lake, I guess, in God of War Ragnarok, and you kind of go between all the different areas on that lake. But we're going to do that with 4 different regions. So it is much more open. I think that's the wrong direction for a studio like Santa Monica, personally, as opposed to keeping it straight down. But it's hard to say. I honestly, because I'm so used to, from Santa Monica, the only thing I can really picture as far as gameplay style is how they handled God of War. So take that with how you will. But let me know you guys' thoughts. What would you guys want to see as well? Santa Monica sci-fi game. It's really cool, though. Supposedly, I know that the news was supposedly this will also be ready to be announced soon. Now, I think the rumors, or I don't know if it was officially confirmed or not, but I know I saw in passing today that Sony was planning an event of their own. Not necessarily, it was like a state of play. It was a smaller event, not necessarily a big showcase event. That should be coming soon around Summer Games Fest time, I believe. Don't quote me on that, because I just saw that in passing, and it wasn't one of the subjects that I was ready to talk about today. So there you go. But I would love to see them reveal it sort of alongside in Summer Games Fest. I think definitely something coming from Santa Monica deserves that stage presence. Not the little itty bitty showcases. I've never really been a big fan of these itty bitty showcases. I don't know about you guys. There you go. I'm pretty stoked about another sci-fi game, Solark, Mind's Eye. I think we've heard some bad things about Mind's Eye today, in that the gameplay was like, just the whole game itself needed more time in the oven is what I think we kind of heard today. Conceptually maybe cool. Sorry, Solark, I don't want to burst your bubble there. Watch the video. It turned out really good. Thank you, Arcade. I hope GTA 6 and Test 6 both come out in the same year. Honestly, that would be kind of epic. But it's Elder Scrolls 6 isn't releasing in 2026. I'll just say that much. It's not releasing in 2026. Don't get your hopes up. Yeah. I feel bad now. I'm sorry, Solark. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, and there Arcane's elaborating a bit more. It looked like one of those generic episodes. Oh, yeah. Generic, you'd see. I didn't hear good things about it, but I did hear good things. Definitely Jesse Pinkman would play. Push GTA back. They, honestly, we've talked about this before. I get confused sometimes if it was on Red Show or this show, but it definitely got discussed at some point before. There's a very decent chance that they're going to push back Grand Theft Auto again. Do not listen to Strauss. I think, I was chatting on Colt Eastwood's podcast. I was chatting on Colt Eastwood's XNC podcast, and he read my chat aloud, so thanks, Colt. That was appreciated. He said he likes my content, he likes my takes, so thank you, Colt. But what I will say is, during that stream, I was saying, look, Strauss has no idea what the F he's talking. He's sitting there saying, oh, it's not gonna get delayed, it's fine, we're in a good place. He has no freaking clue. I'll tell you exactly what's going to happen. The studio is going to be sitting there. They're going to have like certain deadlines they need to meet. It's going to be, we need to get this done and this done and this done. And then the date, it's going to be like, I don't know, October 23rd. And they're going to be sitting here and they're going to be like, yeah, October 23rd, we're supposed to have this part of GTA Online. We're supposed to have these server tests done. We don't have those server tests done yet. And then Rockstar is going to go back to 2K and Strauss, and they're going to go, And Strauss, what is he going to say? No, get the game out? It's freaking GTA 6. You're fine. They'll delay the game, especially if it's tied to GTA Online. If it's tied to GTA Online in any capacity, they're delaying the game. I'm sorry. Don't listen to him. And then the other thing too, and Strauss, you could like him, you could hate him. That's great. You're entitled to that opinion. I'm just gonna say, at the end of the day, whatever's gonna make him money. And GTA Online is gonna do that. Assassin! Thank you for coming in and donating 5 channel memberships. Cole, Roadkill, Chris Harris, and Astral Frost, and Roadkill, if I didn't say you, and Cole. And Bobby Hawk, and Chris Harris, and Roadkill. I think we're gonna have to watch all that go on stream now. Okay, bye, Assassin. Assassin, I can't say that you don't support because this is the second time you did that. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for coming in and supporting a real champion of the channel. I appreciate that a lot. Seriously, thank you. And enjoy all of your channel memberships. Thanks to Assassin. Where was I? Yeah, Strauss will delay GTA 6 if he needs to. Don't you worry about that. Don't you worry for a second about that. Alright, Battlefront 2. We're going to be talking about that later. I saw your comment. Don't worry, Red Wolf. I saw your comment. But for now, let's dive into Randy Pitchford stuff. And this isn't going to be a long topic. This is not going to be a long one. But I wanted to cover the fact that we talked about this at length on the Renegade Realm podcast. I know that a lot of you were there for this discussion. But basically, he long story short, he said if you're a real fan, you're gonna find a way to buy Borderlands 2, Borderlands 4, even if it costs $80. This is one of the worst possible replies that a CEO could ever give, and as we've discussed on the Renegade Realm podcast, seriously, Randy, you need to shut the F up. I've never been a fan of Randy. I don't like him. I think he's kind of a sleazy dude. The analogy that I would give, or the comparison that I give, is I look at someone like Todd Howard and I go, yeah, I would want to be friends with Todd Howard. I look at Phil Spencer and go, yeah, I kind of would want to be friends with Phil Spencer. I look at I don't know, Sven Vink at Larian, I go, yeah, or Daniel Vavra at Warhorse, and I go, yeah. And I look at Randy and I go, exactly like that. If I'm at an event and Randy's in the room, I want him on the other side. No, I don't know him. I can't say that I hate the guy, right? I don't know him. But there's been a lot of really uncomfortable things that have come out in relation to him. And so this doesn't help make him seem like a better person. You know, he's making, I think his net worth is like $10 million or something. I don't know, whatever the number is. So to say everybody should just basically get a second job. I mean, I'm working, I'm already working too. And I kind of, with the YouTube channel, not that I consider this a job, it's a hobby, but you know, arguably the time that sometimes can be put into it, you could say like it's 3 jobs. No, I'm not picking up a 3rd job to pay for Borderlands 4. So I guess I'm not a real fan. He did clarify, because somebody did this wonderful thing where they basically took ChatGPT, tried to make it sound like how Handsome Jack would sound, and they put it through a filter. I want to find this exact thing. Handsome Jack Borderlands 4 reply. They basically tried to make how the response would feel if it were said by Handsome Jack. Someone put the real fans tweet into a Handsome Jack AI. It came out, oh, boo-hoo, $80 for Borderlands 4. Let me break out the world's tiniest violin, crafted from iridium and oiled with the tears of the whiny vault hunters. Listen, Cupcake, you're not buying a game. You're investing in a premium galaxy-shattering experience personally engineered to blast your little dopamine receptors into orbit. You think that quality loot, chaotic mayhem just codes itself. You want a gun that sprouts legs. You want it to sing sea shanties and explode into little loot goblins without paying top dollar? Grow up. Back in my day, I built an entire moon base with my own 2 hands and a metric ton of disposable Hyperion interns, and you're crying about spending a few bucks more to virtually murder skags with style? Please! But hey, if $80 is too steep, there's always a solution. Just don't buy it. More legendary drops for the rest of us, and fewer mouth-breathing freeloaders clogging up my loot pools. It's win-win. Stay broke, hero. Handsome Jack, President of the Galaxy, CEO of Hyperion, and your personal nightmare. Credit comes from Duke_Newcomb. So, there you go. Really, really funny response to this, in my opinion. Really great way. I was laughing. I was audibly laughing when I saw this for the first time. He responded. He said, "Boy, howdy, is that how I sound?" This is from Randy Pitchford now. He said, "Boy, howdy, is that how I sound? My bad, but cheers to Duke Nukem and Moxie OG for the funniest thing I'm going to read today. In seriousness, though, nobody likes being taken for granted, and it was not my intent. I'm humbled by the love and support everyone has shown the team as we push hard to get this amazing game in your hands. They're crushing it, and I can't wait for everyone to play what's going to be the best Borderlands ever, regardless of where the price lands. It's going to be worth it, and then some. Back to work for me." So, on the one hand, what I will say is grateful that Randy provided an apology, right? I don't think it's fair to sit here and say that, you know, he said something. Saying nothing would have been worse, in my opinion. And this was a very kind of generic reply, right? He corporate feeling, if you will. But it doesn't excuse the first thing that he said. And honestly, I'll just say that I'm still personally not excited for Borderlands 4 anymore. I mean, I'm excited about it, but I'll wait for it to go on sale with the $30 or the $40 edition that has all the Vault Hunters included and some extra skins, and you get some golden keys when you buy it. Because here's the thing, 2K, and I know this was mentioned on the Renegade Realm podcast as well, it's not as though this Borderlands 4 is going to release and it's going to be an $80 priced game, and they're saying, no, there's no golden keys anymore. You can just find that cool loot out in the world, and we've really worked hard on making the loot system feel rewarding. So there wasn't even a need to put in golden keys. That's not going to happen. They're not going to turn around and say, oh yeah, we're not throwing in any premium skins or anything. Oh, and you know, the Vault Hunters, you know, when we launch the Vault Hunters, they're going to come with the expansions, right? You don't need to just pay for like $10 or $15 or whatever it's going to cost to get the Vault Hunter. It's going to come with a big expansion, or you can buy the, you know, if you don't want the expansion, you can buy them separately, maybe. Just more options as to how you want to purchase it. But if you buy the DLC and them together, you get a bit of a discount. But they're still going to charge you for all that stuff. Moral of the story. They're still going to charge you for the golden keys. You don't need to buy them if you don't want. I've never, ever needed a golden key anytime I've played a Borderlands game. But they're still going to charge for that. They're still going to charge for skins. They're still going to charge for the characters. They're still going to charge for the DLC and have paid expansions that come out after the fact. And they're going to be charging the $80 price for it. So when you make a comment like this, I'll wait. I'll just wait. Why did he not say that first? That's the problem, right? And Mr. Matty Plays, credit to Mr. Matty Plays, because he did a really good video where he covered the situation. He said there's a kind of the duality of Randy Pitchford at PAX East, which I didn't know he was at PAX East, but it's kind of cool. I was thinking about going. I went one year. It was a lot of fun. I loved it. I have a shirt somewhere from PAX East as well that I bought when I went. But what I will say, maybe next year I'll go. But what I will say is, at that event, he was very cordial. He said, look, I don't know what it's going to be. Like 2K, you know, 2K might make it whatever it is. He did sort of pass the blame. He did it a little bit more subtly, but he passed the blame to 2K. And he said, I don't know, but he brought up the fact that the development budget was twice as much as Borderlands 3, which I think was around 150 million for Borderlands 3. So this one's going to cost 300 million. He brought up how it's more expansive, how it's bigger, how all that money's going back into the game and all these other things. It was a phenomenal response. Phenomenal response. And you look at that and you go, all right, cool. Like, I understand, you know, if you need a price at $80, I still don't support $80 games. I'm not getting into that discussion. I've covered that ad nauseum, right? But it was the professional response, and then you get something like this that just feels completely and utterly disrespectful towards your audience. And all it did, I'll end on is, all it did was, the people who weren't going to buy it and had problems with the game to begin with, they have ammunition to further go in that corner. The people like me who are kind of on the fence, I'm now leaning towards, I'll just wait. And then the people who are going to buy the game are going to still defend the game and its $80 price and all that other stuff. And then there's a lot of folks in the middle who are just going to forget or didn't even know any of this happened to begin with, because they're not paying attention to this stuff, right? So there you go. But it's going to be a no from me. Sorry. Pray for a miracle. I'll pray for a miracle for you, Solark. You need a miracle? What do you need a miracle for? Thank you, Lotus. Yes, please do smash the like. If you're enjoying what you're watching here, if you're enjoying my commentary, and the podcast and the show, please do leave a like. I'm just gonna take a little extra sippy sip. I wish that the one feature I really want YouTube to implement is like what Twitch has with earning points, and then you can kind of spend those points to redeem small things like take a sip of water, fix your posture, like those fun little perks that Twitch does. I'm surprised that YouTube hasn't implemented it yet. All right, but if you're enjoying the show, please do leave a like. It really does help. Tainted Grail. Now let me pull something up really quick, because I do have I don't have a lot of experience with Tainted Grail. And when I say I don't have a lot of experience, basically what I mean is I played the game for about 2 hours. Just under 2 hours where I experienced the demo. I'm going to go over here. And if you don't want spoilers, I'm going to be showing just the beginning of the game. Parts of the beginning of the game. This is my own captured gameplay too. I walked through the demo of it. Now, for those of you who don't know, take time, Arcane. For those of you who don't know, Tainted Grail is a new RPG coming. Let me just give me 1 second. I want to make sure that I get the developer's name right. I had someone comment on I was guesting on one of the other podcasts I did over a couple weeks ago, and I forgot the name of Sandfall Interactive that made Expedition 33, and there was this one chat was like, man, I hate when like content creators they're talking about games and they can't even say what developer made it. It's like, I'm sorry, I don't remember the name of every single development team under the sun for the indie game that I was playing that I just started getting into. It's developed by a studio called Questline. Questline, and it's being published by Kepler. Now, Kepler Interactive, it's being published by Awaken Realms. Now, Awaken Realms doesn't have a lot going on. They had Dragon Eclipse, Tainted Grail, The Fall of Avalon, Tainted Grail Conquest, which was a roguelike deck building. It's a hybrid between a roguelike RPG and a deck building game. So honestly, that kind of sounds interesting. And a game called Nemesis Locked In. So nothing I've really ever heard of. A free-to-play called Project Sphinx. Nothing I've ever really heard of. But they're now working on Fall of Avalon. And what I will say about I can only say from the time that I've experienced this gameplay, I can only say good things about it. And originally, I had watched ESO. For those of you who don't know, ESO is absolutely fantastic, a wonderful content creator, and he is I think he is the biggest sort of, he doesn't do just Bethesda, but kind of that Bethesda focused content like RPGs and similar to Elder Scrolls games. He does a lot of survival games too, but one of the biggest on the platform. He's a really nice dude. I've spoken to him offline once before. Really nice guy. But I was watching his gameplay and his coverage of it, and honestly, it didn't do anything for me. When I just sat back and I was watching the gameplay, similar to what you're seeing on screen with the combat and whacking things, and went, all right, it kind of looks a little bit like, it looks like an average, like an indie Elder Scrolls, right? It looks like a kind of a knockoff Elder Scrolls game as far as the combat goes. It is really damn fun when you get into the game. It has a stellar balance, and I mentioned this during the intro of the stream, but they were able to get this balance of combat difficulty with sort of the damage that they deal to you mixed with the damage that you deal to them. I was just playing on the default, but it was kind of a decent challenge. There were some bosses that could have been a little bit harder. I would probably bump up the difficulty a little bit more, or to one level above what I did for the demo. But I'll just say it right here. I am 1000% sold as this being one of the next great RPGs, and for this studio to be one that a lot of people, Questline, to be a studio that a lot of people really need to keep a close eye on. It was a ton of fun. If the level design, I just did the demo, so all you have is sort of this intro tutorial. You can tell the inspiration from Elder Scrolls, not just by watching it, but you start as a prisoner, you don't have a name, you create your character. I'm hoping there's a little bit more character creation options, but then again, you only see them in the menus. It's entirely in first person. But they have like sort of dual wielding spells, and you equip the left hand and the right hand. You know, you could dual wield 2 swords and stuff like that. So they have that system going on. What's also interesting is they have a dodge mechanic. So you'll see occasionally in the gameplay, I'm sure you'll see it at some point, sort of just like sprinting in a direction. And that was really, really cool as well. There are also there's a little bit more of an emphasis on sort of boss fights. So at certain moments in the game, you would get to a section where you would actually see kind of like almost a Borderlands style intro, you know, when you kind of see an animation playing out of an enemy doing something, and then it doesn't do the dramatic like title screen the way Borderlands does, but then they come, they look at you, and then boom, you go back to your perspective and you get into combat. Super, super cool style. And if the level design, the voice acting was really quite good also. I'm not going to pretend that it was sort of the level of a Naughty Dog game, right? But then again, you don't really play these types of games for that. But it was really, really serviceable. And you can see in the gameplay, I know that it's really, really dark. I apologize, but the game itself was that dark. And I kind of liked that too, because it's another issue I have in Bethesda games in particular. They always feel really, really just like it's daytime all the time, even when you're in a dungeon. And I don't like that, but this game was a lot darker. And it was kind of cool to see that they did that. But voice acting was really quite good for this type of game. Better than I was expecting, I guess. What was I saying? The level design. If the tutorial dungeon is anything to be expected for how the rest of the game will operate as far as the dungeons that you can go and explore, it was better dungeon design than even Skyrim in some ways. Now, this was just a singular prison, right? But there were... one of my issues that I always had with, for example, Skyrim dungeons was that it was linear. It was a straight path, and you kind of go through that path. It tells some environmental storytelling, and then you always find kind of a shortcut to get back to... almost always find a shortcut to get back to the main exit or / entrance. This game had much more diverse things, and I constantly found myself, well, how, like, what happens if I go in this direction, or if I go in this direction? And then you would see that, oh, this path kind of loops back around here and it goes that way, but I could have sort of been a little bit sneaky. You saw a little bit before that I was using a pickaxe to mine a different passageway. There's a lot of little tunnels, and sort of there's some underground paths. You slip in underground and you go through a small tunnel that was dug out. Plenty of that in this game, and it was so fun and refreshing to have those almost like, obviously not quite at that level, but almost sort of trying to parallel a bit of Arcane Studios level design to a small extent, right? But you kind of saw it there. So much fun. So much fun to explore, and that says nothing about the story. Now, the demo and the opening moments of this game is a ton of exposition dumping. You are basically just sitting in exposition after exposition after exposition. It's a lot to take in because for most people, obviously they had another Tainted Grail game. There was a Tainted Grail board game that I didn't really even, I've heard of, but I never looked into closely. And I love to play tabletops. I haven't in a very long time. I miss it quite a bit, but so this universe already exists. For a lot of people, this is going to be their first time hopping into this universe. So they're explaining kind of the King Arthur legends a bit and how it plays into this universe. Which I also love that it plays into realistic mythology, but in its own, in its own kind of tangential pathway. So you're learning all about what is Avalon, what's going on with King Arthur, what's happening with the people and the different factions and who likes who. You have these guys. What's the weirdness is. There's this element called the weirdness. That's basically this magical entity that's not fully understood. There's these guys trying to cure a disease. Sort of like if you've ever played Divinity Original Sin 2, where you have sorcerers and the beginning of that game starts with, what are they? The red, they're called the red, not the red priests. That's in this game. Oh my god. Red Templars? No, shoot. In Divinity, you're basically getting rounded up to cure your disease, which your disease is being a sorcerer, that you have source, that you can use source. Which is this mysterious magical element. In Tainted Grail, you're a person who can, in some capacity, seemingly absorb this magical element that then you get abducted by these red priests that try to cure you. So very interesting, the parallel between those two, Divinity and Tainted Grail as well. But by the end of the demo, I was completely hooked on the story as well. Again, aside from a little bit too much exposition, which is a minor complaint because you got to get lost in this world. So much fun. So much fun. Combat does have sort of a parry system. You can see here I'm fiddling around with, there's a shield bash as well that I didn't know I could do. Tons of documents to read and books scattered around. So all in all, cannot wait for Tainted Grail, Fall of Avalon. A game that was not on my radar whatsoever. And now is absolutely unequivocally one of my most anticipated games coming out this year. That's still unreleased, because obviously I'm still working through games like Expedition 33 and the like. However, the thumbnail of this video mentioned that we're kind of seeing the fall, the rise of AA games. Like, AA games are striking again. Well, Tainted Grail Fall of Avalon, surprise, surprise, it's $45. $45, and what you get is a 3-act, game that's roughly 50 to 70 hours worth of content, tons of side quests, a branching main quest narrative, multiple different endings. You can play it. It's releasing very soon. But if you want to play it early, it's available on early access. It's releasing on, tomorrow? I think? Yeah, it's releasing tomorrow. So if you're really hungry to jump in and try it out, you can. Your save will not carry over, just be warned. But you could go through the demo, get a feel for it, and then kind of understand, all right, I want to play this type of character. Because you have your typical builds. If you want to play as a mage, if you want to play as a warrior, if you want to play as a, an alchemist, they have alchemy crafting and smithing and cooking, and all these sorts of things too that is included in it. So everything you would want to kind of see from a Skyrim 2, honestly. It in many ways it feels like a Skyrim 2. We constantly joke about getting Skyrim 2. It's right here. Ladies and gentlemen, it's right here. Just look at it. Would you just look at it? And again, I know that sort of the combat and the gameplay, it looks a little bit lazy, like the way this guy is just swinging his sword, swinging his dagger. But I'm gonna be honest, I was playing pretty bad here because I was trying to do the parries, so my gameplay there was a little bit bad. But it is fun. Once you start seeing like even 2 or 3 enemies, you're like, oh shoot, I gotta kind of play this a little bit smarter. And I like that about these types of games, right? Where there is strength in numbers. I don't know. I can't say enough good things about it from the 2 hours that I played so far, which I know it's not that much to give kind of robust first impressions, but highly recommend it. It wasn't on my radar at all. It has third person also. Does it have third person? Okay, there you go. It's first and third person. I didn't know. I played most of these types of games in first person, so I had no interest. You'll see me in the footage here. I'm picking up everything. I'm picking up hearts. I'm picking up brains. I didn't know what did what. I just picked up literally everything and anything. So here you go. So here's the alchemy system. These were just the 2 recipes that I was able to make. So what's interesting is that alchemy, you kind of have to learn recipes, but you can do cooking. And cooking, you can kind of just throw random things together. So you might find like cheese, some oats, a chicken leg, and some milk. And you could kind of just throw all these different things together and then see if you get a recipe, and then you'll permanently have that recipe unlocked that you can use to make new things. Or you could probably find them out in the world as well. But I liked it a lot. Yeah, so that's a good explanation. I hadn't heard of this game until now, but you've piqued my interest. It's literally Skyrim 2, Slowlark. Literally Skyrim 2. It is absolutely phenomenal. $45. Releases tomorrow. 50 to 70 hours of content, branching narrative, choice and consequence, intriguing story. You do, what I will say is the skill system, they have skill trees and different things you could level up. Was not necessarily a fan of their skill trees. Because it does do a thing that I'm not fond of in games, where it's like you get 15% more damage, you get 10% faster attack speed, you get 2%, like it's these things that you just never bloody notice, and you're like, all right, I'm doing more damage, like cool, I guess. I've never been a fan. You can even see like that center reticle is like that's ripped right from Skyrim with the eye in the center. So there you go. But I can't say enough good things about it. I honestly can't. So this is absolutely one that I will be supporting, that I will be picking up. I might actually stream this tomorrow and maybe give away a code for it as well. Arcane, I know I still owe you a code. I didn't forget. I have a backlog of codes that I need to give. But there you go. Yeah, they said it was included so someone could fall in love with it. First person is the most functional. They added it to appease everyone. Well, Red, I'm glad that you are now appeased. Lotus, I forgot what podcast we were discussing, but is it true $100 for another remaster, regurgitated, complete edition of The Last of Us for PS5 Pro? Someone make it stop. I haven't heard about another $100 remaster for another release of The Last of Us, but to be brutally honest, the reason why I wouldn't have heard of that is because I don't care and I'm not buying it, and Sony's out of their damn minds. Out of your mind! If they think they could do so. Anyway, couple small things that I want to talk about too, just before I move on to the next subject about this game. Reasons why, like, the moment that I was really sold on this game, I was walking through this dungeon, and then it's pretty again, it took me 2 hours just to get through. This dungeon is basically the tutorial, and it was pretty beefy. But I was going through, and I got to a point in the level where I was wearing the Red Priest's robes, and one of the NPCs was like, you don't look like a red, you know, it was like, one of the NPCs was like, no, get, like, back off before I crush your skull, and you're like, no, I'm not with the Red Priest, I'm not with them, and he's like, oh yeah, then why are you wearing their robes? And I was like, yes, immediately. That's the type of thing that I just go, I'm in. I'm sold. They recognize that I was walking around in this NPC in that faction's clothing. It's something that I don't know why. It's such a small detail, but it's something really, really cool. And I will just spoil sort of the end of the demo a little bit. I'm actually going to jump ahead to an outdoor area. So I'm just going to spoil the end of the demo. Basically, you meet up with this guy. And I'm going to keep it intentionally vague. I just saw him. He was the guy in the hood. This guy right here. You meet up with him. And you have the option to sort of kind of during your dialogue, you have the option to be more inquisitive and kind of dance around some conversation topics. Or you can, I just go right past them because I was exploring the beach because there was so much to explore. I was like, oh, there's all this stuff. Like, I had to talk to him. I said, nope, not going past. Like, I spent probably 25 minutes just going around this area exploring things. There's buried treasure to dig up that I was able to find in the level. Like, there's fishing. You could go fishing in it too, which is pretty neat. You'll see me picking up just everything and anything that I could. But here you go. Just pick up all the ingredients. You have the opportunity to be kind of a little bit more vague with this guy, or you could just say like, oh, blah, 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 blah. This is my life. And there was immediately two very different, because I watched ESO's gameplay and then I played it for myself. And there were two very different outcomes of the conversation with this guy. I think ultimately it kind of led, because again, this is still the intro. So it's not the point where the narrative can kind of branch off too much. But it was the type of game that I look at and it was the entirety of it up until this point was well written enough where I wonder how my dialogue choices here, and you're sort of seeing it. You had an option, two dialogue options there, but the choice here, how that might impact something like 2 hours, 3 hours from now. And then suddenly this guy's like, what the F? Right? Because I kind of like didn't lie to him, but I skirted around giving him the truth. So it was the type of game that really piqued my curiosity as far as, hey, this dialogue choice might really make a difference, and it might not know until like a couple hours from now. And I love that about games too. I like when they can make me feel that way, and I have to sit back and go, ooh, is this the right decision? Anytime a game makes me sit back and have to question those things. So I know I've been on this for a while. I wanted to sing this game's praises. There's probably going to be a lot of I think IGN has a review of it that's out you can watch if you're interested. I know a lot of content creators like Maddie has a sponsored video that'll be coming out soon on the game as well. I've never been so in peas in my life. So many peas! You grab them peas. Peas are really good for you. Lots of vitamin A. B12. I think. Anyway, I wanted to make sure that I shouted this game out because it's right up my alley. I wish I had been covering it sooner, honestly. But for other people like you, Solark, who never really heard of it, that's the boat that I was in. And then some commenter. There was a comment on my last video that said, well, Tainted Grail's coming out. I'm really excited about that, or something along those lines. And vitamin P. Get your vitamin P. Hey, King Styles. How's it going? Welcome. Yeah, so what is it? Some commenter on my last video said, hey, definitely check this out. Because I do read all my comments, I was like, I should take a look at it. Took some look at it, went, like I said, the gameplay looked, the combat looked, Played it myself. It's actually a lot of fun. Really, really enjoyed it. And I'm excited to hop back in, and it releases tomorrow. So, congrats to Questline on what I think is going to be a really big success in its niche. For sure. Alright. Let's switch over here. Go through a couple chats. There's fishing? There is! You can go fishing. You can go fishing. You could look for buried treasure. Like, I was digging some up as well. ultimate minigame distraction as far as I'm concerned. It is a good one. Whack out on a podcast and chill out with my... Yeah, just take out my ride and just sit on a podcast. It's a good way to go. I was gifted a sub and I wasn't even here. Yeah, that's one of my issues with gifting channel memberships. So I did say, however, thanks for reminding me about gifted subs. And I know this wasn't intentional. Welcome, Bobby Hawk. Or just welcome, Bobby. I don't want to say Bobby Hawk, right? Do you want welcome, Bobby Hawk. Welcome, Mr. Hawk. Maybe that should be my gimmick. I just say Mr. Cole, Mr. Lark, Mr. Realm, Mr. Renegade. No, we're not doing that. I did say that I wanted to, and welcome. I see that there's quite a few people here. Thank you everybody for stopping by and hanging out with me tonight. If you are enjoying, please do leave a like on it. It really does help. And say hey. Say hi so I know you're here. But I did say if you stuck around until the end of Tainted Grail's impressions, I wanted to do something I didn't know was even possible. But here you go. There you go. I don't think any of those people are here. I don't think a single one of those are here. Congrats, King Fanman, Web Dave, Austin Burnett, May, Pixel, and Captain Takashi on your channel memberships. That's the one issue I have with channel memberships, is it just sort of goes to anyone. King Fanman deserves one, though. I like King Fanman. King Fanman. And Austin! I don't know if I said Austin. Austin Burnett. Congratulations on becoming a channel members. If any of you are here, please do say hi. But there you go. You really should play Live Alive. What the heck is Live Alive? Live Alive? Live Alive? What, I don't know what that is. Good, clever way to get people to come back. Yeah, listen, I would love, I say it all the time. My thing is always like just interacting with you guys, right? So, as long as I'm getting to kind of hang out and chat, like if I'm seeing comments on videos are always my favorite. I love going through the comments on the videos that I make. You know, and ultimately the goal as a content creator, I think for most people, the goal as a content creator is just to be able to say, hey, today I want to talk about, like, today I'm going to make a video on Borderlands 4, and not to see that, you know, nobody really tunes in to watch it because they don't care, right? Is to build an audience that wants to see your content, that wants to see your takes, even if they've heard the situation in another place, or that you're not necessarily first one to get to the news, that people are like, man, I really respect so-and-so's opinion, and I want to tune in and support that and see that. So that's ultimately the goal of any content creator. At least maybe I shouldn't speak for anybody, but at least for myself. I know Red and I have had similar chats in the past, but there you go. So as long as I'm getting to interact with you guys, and if channel memberships, gifting out some channel memberships help to do that, then hey, more power to me. More power to the channel. Which we are rounding out to 5,000. We're creeping our way up to 5,000 subscribers on the channel, which is pretty big milestone. Pretty big milestone as far as channels go. Subscribers are kind of a vanity metric. I've said it before. I've said it to other creators. It's kind of a vanity metric, so I don't put too much faith in it. But it is nice to see, right? It's a nice thing to see that number going up is always satisfying. So we're creeping our way to 5K. Definitely, assuming that I am good with content, should reach it by the end of the year. But that rests on my shoulders. And you guys, the more that you guys kind of share out the content, the more that you guys support it, you know, obviously that like sharing and interacting and engaging in chat, those sorts of things, making others who might be here know that it's a welcoming community and that all of you are friendly, because I know all of you are friendly, really good people, really, you know, generous and kind and supportive. So letting people know that they're, if they choose to engage, getting to be a part of that as well. And we do. Like, I know that all of us kind of overlap between Red Wolf, myself, Holly, and all these other places. So it is kind of cool to know that you're part of something a little bit bigger, because, you know, everyone kind of tunes in for all this different stuff. Anyway, don't want to ramble too long about that, because I know that Red is really excited for us to dive into Battlefront 2. Now, I left this one for the end. I think this is, as far as the pacing of content, as far as the subjects, I think this kind of works well, because I did the bite size, you know, smaller story, the main topic I want to talk about, and then something that is also like a little bit of a smaller story that I wanted to highlight. And then in other news, if we have time, which we won't have time for today, but that's all right. We won't always have time for it. But Battlefront 2 Revisited, we'll touch on a little bit. In other news was meant to be not gaming related, so we'll kind of touch on a little bit of that in this discussion. But Star Wars Battlefront 2 from EA recently saw a bit of a resurgence in popularity. Now, the cool thing about this is it was a game that when it launched was pretty disastrous. It was a game that initially, for those of you who remember, let me refresh for those who don't remember. Basically, Battlefront 2 released. It was riddled with microtransactions to the point where it was basically a pay-to-win game. Everyone was really excited because Battlefront 1 did some cool stuff. We were curious to see how EA and DICE would improve for Battlefront 2 and what direction they would take it in. They introduced the Clone Wars, which I think for most folks, even though the prequel movies were, you know, what they were, Episode 3 was great, but the animated show was phenomenal. If you haven't watched Star Wars: The Clone Wars animated, go do it. Animated Star Wars is the best Star Wars. I stand behind that, if I'm being honest. Although I just recently watched the original trilogy and it was really good. And I saw Revenge of the Sith in 4D. It's phenomenal. It's great. Actually really like that movie. But anyway, the animated stuff is absolutely incredible. So the Clone Wars is one of my favorite eras. Personally, I know for a lot of other people as well. And additionally, I really like kind of that post Clone Wars era, specifically when the Star Wars Jedi games take place. Like, there's still, you know, or when Obi-Wan Kenobi, the TV show, took place, where there's still kind of remnants of the Republic around, but the Empire is still, you know, growing and spreading that, but you still got the clone troopers kind of doing stuff like Bad Batch. I love that era as well. But they introduced that. Trailers generated a lot of hype. People were really excited. I remember I was excited enough where I learned the Battlefront 2 trailer on piano because I was so excited for Battlefront 2 when it released. And it came out and it was pay to win. The microtransactions were out of control. The loot box system was insane. And the gameplay was good. The gameplay was fine, but there was no reason to go in and play it because you would just get outspent by other players who can upgrade. They had this star card system where the higher the level of the star card, which tied to rarity, the better it would be, right? So if you had a level 1, you might get like a 5% boost to your fire rate, but a level 4 might get like 35 to 40% boost to your fire rate. Like, the differences were exorbitant between those, and if you paid more money, guess what? You were able to get the rare ones. And the prices of them obviously were not that great. It was so bad that Disney stepped in because this was right around the time that the sequel trilogy movies were getting released. It was so bad that Disney stepped in and was like, what the F are you guys doing? And the team was like, shoot, we gotta dial it back. And they reworked the system. Now, it wasn't a situation where it was too little too late because Star Wars Battlefront 2 still did have a decent player base. The player base that stuck with it was really appreciative of the changes. It did bring players back to it. And I would say arguably their transition was a little bit better done than, say, that of Shadow of War For those of you who remember that situation, single player with microtransactions and loot boxes in it. That game, I think, really got decimated because of that. Star Wars Battlefront 2, because it was an online and multiplayer game, it had a bit of an advantage where people were willing to stick it out longer because of kind of the live service elements that go into, or the live service expectation that goes into those sorts of games. So people stuck with it longer. Because of Andor. Andor Season 2 released. I've been watching it. It's really good. I'm not where I'm saying it's the best Star Wars. I think it's the best recent Star Wars media that we've gotten, arguably, because I think Bad Batch is also stellar. But what I will say is it's definitely the most intriguing and I would say well-shot Star Wars media that we've gotten in a long time. Andor is a lot of fun to watch. If you're not into the political scheming and kind of the backhand deals and the subterfuge and the sabotage, then it might not appeal to you. They're not running around. There's no lightsabers. There's some action, but not that much. In fact, it kind of feels like they put in action because they're like, all right, we need a little more. And there's a lot of artistry behind the directing where you can go. One of my favorite things about movies, TV, film, and cinema is when people can kind of have discussions about why certain shots were framed this way, because every director tries to implement that, but obviously it happens to varying levels of success, right? Not every movie does it as good as others. Andor is one where sometimes it's a bit on the nose, but other times you go, that's really clever actually, when you start seeing how other people interpret and analyze the way certain film sequences were shot and the reason why things were shot a certain way. Andor definitely has that side of it. So really great cinematically. Because of the success of Andor, that's what people are attributing it to. We're seeing a rise of players in Battlefront 2, and it's recently saw a pretty big spike. I don't know. I want to look really quickly. I should have had these numbers prepared. I apologize for being a really crappy content creator. So just looking at the player charts on Steam now, if we know based on Doom Eternal that going by Steam player counts, I feel like now if anybody tries to say like, oh well, the Steam player counts is really low, like Doom Eternal, Doom of the Dark Ages, excuse me. If the player counts are really low, this game flopped. I feel like, and I don't have a big Sharpie to do this in, but someone just needs to take a sign and go, you probably can't even read that. Someone just needs to take a sign and go, read it! Read the sign! And just Doom the Dark Ages, right? Because that has, that, oh, I do have a better marker. There we go. Make it nice and visible for everybody. Nice, and if anybody ever tries to justify, oh, well, Steam player counts. Just, do you see it? Do you see the side? Because this was an example for the ages, right? Where everybody, including myself, I looked at that and I went, oh, 30,000 players. Ooh. I didn't make any commentary on it. And then they said it's actually, it grew 7 times faster in terms of player size than any of their past games. Had 3 million players, right? So Steam numbers, not the most accurate. Read the sign. But recently, and this is just this month, in April, it was sticking around like 2,000 players. In May of 2024, it hit 5,000 players. Throughout 2025, it's been under 3,000 consistently, dropping at its lowest in April with 1,500 players. Just recently, Steam charts shows that it has jumped to 9,293. 9,300 players just started jumping into this game out the blue, up from 1,500, which is incredible. You do not see that this commonly, unless we have situations like what we've seen with, guess what? Fallout TV show. Right? Arcane. I think Arcane also did really good for League of Legends players. There are other examples as well. But really cool to see that Battlefront 2 is getting this appreciation, because a lot of Battlefront fans were upset that it didn't seem like EA and DICE were really interested in doing a Battlefront 3. It seems as though they are going to maybe reconsider. Now, I'm not saying that, 9,000, 10,000 Steam players is really going to... It's worth mentioning, actually. It's worth mentioning that the all-time peak was 4 years ago on Steam, and it was 10,500 players, and it just reached... And that was 4 years ago, and it just reached 9,300. So about 1,000 less than its all-time peak. And again, that's just on Steam. That's just on Steam, right? Huh? So... it's really quite incredible for a game to have that much of a jump in growth. It does go to show the importance of how film and TV and movies play into, and we are seeing this really kind of crazy surge with gaming companies trying to get involved in shows. I forget what the game was, but it was fairly recent, where the game had basically just come out. It was a fairly new release. It did pretty well. And then I think about a day later, we were hearing like, boom, so-and-so company's trying to make a TV show out of it. And you went, what? I remember my reaction. I can't remember the game or the IP, but I do distinctly remember like, ooh, yeah, that's a bit too soon for me. I think maybe I'd rather them just wait and take time before just jumping on the opportunity, right? I think that's why something... Oh, I can't believe I forgot the Last of Us TV show. Last of Us TV show did do well, especially season 1 did do well for the Last of Us games. So I do think the reason why we got such a good TV show with Fallout was because Todd Howard was very specific to who he... Thank you, Slowlark. Yes, it was Split Fiction. They announced that somebody was trying to make Split Fiction show or movie. Can't remember which, but right off the bat, the game came out and then people were pouncing on the idea. Two things. Again, and this is just my personal take. My personal take on film and movie or TV and movie adaptations when it comes to video game IPs. Number one, I think it works best when you take the world and you make something in the world. I think Fallout works so well because it does tie in elements from the games, so fans can look at it and go, oh, I like that. Oh, it's the thing. I know that thing. I played the game. And you're sitting there with your girlfriend or your significant other or your boyfriend, or you're just sitting there by yourself, which is totally fine too. That's how I watch TV shows these days. And you're just there and you're like, that's the thing that they said they did the thing, right? Like, but I think it works best when it exists in its own, it develops its own lore within the universe. And I think that's why I like the Fallout TV show. Issues that I had with the Last of Us, I'll go with season 1 because I know season 2 is a bit more controversial, but the issues I had with season 2 aside, I think the biggest issue that struggled with is, now again, I'm not necessarily the target market for that show 100%. I imagine that they look at me and they say, well, someone like DeMarco is going to he's going to go talk about it to other people who do watch a lot of TV, and then those people are going to watch it. Because the gaming, we get the gaming community, we get the fans on board, and then it spreads to the mass market. It doesn't always happen that way, but that should be the ideal way that it's approached. For someone like myself, and again, it's just personal preference, I look at something like the Last of Us TV show, and as I'm watching it, because it's just telling the same story, I'm watching it and I go, I can just play the game. Right? I can just be. Why am I watching the show? I just go play the damn game. That's my personal thing. So, well, Bobby, the 90s was a different time. The 90s was a very different time, especially for these kinds of, like, for video game adaptations. Well, that was actually, the 90s, it was actually the opposite, right? The 90s and into the early 2000s was when we saw the movies become video games. We were doing the reverse. I actually miss, not that they were usually not good, but like Spider-Man 2, who was the narrator? That narrator was iconic. I'm going off on a tangent now. We're just going off topic. Bruce Campbell. Oh, wait. Yeah, Bruce Campbell. Bruce Campbell. When he did the lines for the Spider-Man game. Like, that was actually a good game. That was, Tobey Maguire did but like the narrator for it. No. Like, that was actually a really fun game. So, like, it was some charming elements about movie tie-in games. Tobey Maguire did do the voice, though, which was cool. There you go, Red. You didn't have to look it up, though, so your answer is more impressive. Doesn't matter that he only narrated. I don't care that it was just fun. Like, the way that the game was written was really charming and really funny. Like, there was a lot of good humor, in my opinion, from Bruce's narration, specifically in the tutorial, right? I think he only narrated the tutorial. I don't think he did other parts of the game. I don't think. But even still, it was funny, it was comedic, but obviously just the broad concept of movie tie-in games. Hey, RSJ, welcome. Why the sad face? What is that, a sad face? Is that crying? Come, tell me what's wrong. I hope you're doing well tonight. And if not, the way that I look at it is, hey, the day's over. You finally got time. If you're listening to the show, hopefully you got time to relax and sit back a bit. Ideally. So the bad parts of the day are behind you, and the good parts you have to look forward to. And it's not over just yet. The rest of the day is what you make it. He starts eating a sandwich while he's trying to explain something. He goes, "Oh, too much mustard." Yeah, like, it was such silly, it was such dopey humor, but it was great. I loved it. And then it had that kind of thing where obviously he was breaking the fourth wall the whole time, and if you tried to do like certain things, he'd be like, you know, if you tried to be snarky and like snippy with what you were doing in the tutorial, he would comment on that kind of stuff. So it was just all around really well done. But anyway, Mario movie, another great example. Sonic movie, another example. But to get back to what I was saying, I don't know if I fully realized these thoughts, but long story long is I like when these games take the universe and they flesh it out in a different direction. Split Fiction, I would like them to kind of do the same thing with any movie adaptation. I think the reason why Fallout was as good as it was is because Todd was very selective about who worked on it, right? We know, he said when he was talking about it, he's like, tons of people came and gave me ideas for Elder Scrolls shows and Fallout shows. And it was Jonathan Nolan. When he came and pitched it, I said, you know what? This seems right. This seems right. And I give a lot of respect to Todd Howard for having that patience to say no to as many things as he did. I don't think people give Todd Howard enough credit that he did say no to so many things, and he knew the things to say no to, and he knew the thing to say yes to, and we got a really good show as a result. So anyway, Battlefront 2 is resurging in popularity. It made me actually want to go back and play it too. Because I thought Battlefront 2 honestly was a lot of fun. That's what we were talking about. Battlefront 2 was actually a lot of fun. And honestly, what would be really, really cool, because it is getting this resurgence in popularity, not that I would expect it, but honestly, if DICE turned around and said, hey, why don't we just take a small team and make a Rogue One inspired, or a Rogue One inspired map, or do like a Andor inspired map somewhere, would be pretty cool. Would be pretty cool, especially because games like Helldivers 2 as well, right? Helldivers 2 is also getting a resurgence of players, which I thought was really interesting. But apparently their last update has been really, really cool. And I know that... trash, that blue number. Holly, I know that you were talking about Helldivers 2, but I think you would probably say it about Helldivers 2 as well, your opinion. But if I know your opinion correctly. But Helldivers 2 also got a bit of a resurgence. So there you go. Anyway, that'll do it for tonight's show. In other news, the only thing I could really say is I wanted to say thank you to those of you who checked out my Blueprints review. It has over 400 views, which for my reviews is actually really, really good. And that was a fun one to put together, and a game I really enjoyed. So thank you for that level of support. Keep an eye out. I might do a Tainted Grail stream tomorrow, a first impressions. Technically second impressions because I gave my first impressions here, but first live impressions. Do it that way. Well, this is also live. Crap. First live playthrough with impressions. We were just getting going. No, we've been doing this. Nice try, Solark. Nice try. But appreciate the sentiment. Yeah, we're gonna get going now. But keep an eye out. I might do a Tainted Grail stream tomorrow. And we'll see. We'll see. We'll see. My summer Fridays start tomorrow, which is exciting. So I get quite generous summer Fridays at my company, which I'm very grateful for. Those start tomorrow, which means, hey, I got early evenings where I can hop off and start working on content or working on a stream or something of that nature. So we shall see. But thank you all so much for hanging out tonight. Thank you, Assassin, who I know probably hopped out, but for hopping in, dumping 5 subs and then 5 gifted memberships and then hopping out. Thank you to Lotus Esprit for joining up as a channel member. Red Wolf Renegade, $5, that blue number as well for $10. Very generous super chat. I appreciate the both of you. And congratulations, I got quite a decent bit of list to put together of new channel members with all the gifted ones. So I apologize for not reading through all of those tonight, but whether you've been gifted one or you signed up on your own super chat or just hanging out and chatting, again, reminding people that we have a really awesome community. You guys are great and making everyone feel welcome. Much love to all of you. The one thing I will apologize for is if I see you in other streams and I don't directly say hello and I don't go, hi you, hi you, hi you, please don't take it personally. I just don't think about these things. I'm really inconsiderate, and I'm really a horrible, rude, inconsiderate, no good, very bad person. So just keep that in mind. But I appreciate seeing all of you guys here. I appreciate seeing all of you guys in those other places. Awesome community. And be sure to check out that blue number on Sunday. She is going to be streaming more Oblivion Remastered, and I always join if I am available. So be sure to check out Sunday for Oblivion Remastered. I will be there if I can. We can hang out a little bit more for a triple dose of DeMarco. And for your double dose, DeMarco double dose, you can join me on the Renegade Realm podcast, which I know all of you guys are aware of, but that is Tuesdays at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you all so much for a wonderful stream. It was a pleasure. I always have a hard time saying goodbye because I want to keep saying thank you, and one more thank you. But I do hope that all of you have a wonderful night. Good night, everybody. This was a good show. This was a good topics. I like today. I like today's a lot. These were good topics. A lot of them just came out today, too. Like, literally right before I started recording. Or streaming. So, that was fun. Alright. Good night, everybody. Wait, for those of you who are still here, one thing I want to give a quick content creator shout out to, which is something maybe I'll start doing more towards the end of these streams. Just want to give a quick content creator shout out. She's newer, she's growing, in the scene. She is known as Hannah the Hermit on Twitter. Her @ is Hannah's Hermits. Let me just go ahead and get her YouTube channel up, but she's making some great content. She focuses on the Elder Scrolls specifically, and anyone who does Elder Scrolls, because it is one of my favorite games, I think it's worth the support. So you can check out her channel there. Give it a look. Subscribe if you're interested. I'll say the same thing that I say with my own content, is subscribe only if you like the other stuff that's there. Don't just subscribe because there's one video that you like. But she makes some interesting kind of videos about the fauna and flora of Elder Scrolls. Like one of her most successful videos actually just talks about why a singular plant in Oblivion Remastered is one of the most important plants. Don't know how that grew as much as it did, but congratulations, because it's just so interesting that like someone can find a niche like that. Like she says, the hunt for flax, a thrilling alchemical journey in the Elder Scrolls Oblivion and ESO guide. I love when someone finds a niche. Here it is. The alchemy ingredient you've been ignoring and why it matters. 15,000 views on that. Like, I love when someone can find a niche and really just dives into that. So, super cool. Anyway, check it out if you're interested. That's actually all for me. Good night.